Hey friends, I'm glad to be back today, and I'm asking the question, is your marriage ruining your life? Have you been working on your marriage, giving 100%, seeking counseling and therapy, and still nothing seems to work? Does it seem that your spouse, isn't doing much of anything, and you seem to be the one that's trying to hold up the marriage? If so, you can't miss this video. Okay, so today I'm asking the question, is your marriage ruining your entire life? Are you married to someone who's controlling or manipulative or both? And it's making you feel kind of, toxic, almost dead inside? Okay, let's talk about some things that might be going on in your marriage, and I'm going to give you some specific advice on what you can do. The first thing that I think is very important is that you give of yourself and you get little in return. It seems like you're doing all the heavy lifting in this marriage. You're doing everything, and it doesn't seem like your spouse is either contributing or cares to contribute to better the marriage. The second thing is that you're belittled constantly for what you do and put down. There's no positive reinforcement. The things that you do when you create that gives you joy, they find fault in, and it begins to make you question your own validity and question the things that you actually do well and value most. Another is that you're too scared to speak up and you feel powerless. Okay, there's reasons that you might be too scared to speak up, is that you're being constantly belittled and put down. But another one might be because your spouse constantly starts huge arguments and rages over some of the things that you say. And so instead of dealing with one of those big time blow up arguments, you'd rather stay quiet and kind of just be meek and do your own thing because you don't want to deal with the blowback. You don't want to deal with the issues. Why get into this big argument when you can just be quiet? But when we're quiet, what happens then? We feel powerless because we're letting this whole thing take place in front of our very eyes and we're not speaking up against it. Another thing, you feel as though you're walking on eggshells for obvious reasons. You can't speak up, you can't say what's on your mind, you feel powerless, and if you do speak up, you're probably made fun of or there's an argument. So that's an obvious situation. Often in marriages like this, one thing that I find that's key is that many people have to sneak around to see family and friends. Why? Because the spouse has told them that they don't want them hanging out with their friends, they don't want them hanging out with the family. They've found fault in all these people, and most of it's based on the fact that the spouse feels abandoned if the other person has anybody else in their life but them. And so you begin to sneak around. Like it becomes crazy stuff, like cloak and dagger, just to go see mom or dad or sister or brother, or even your best friend that you've known since elementary school. Another thing that I've found is that when you're in this situation, you want to seek therapy because you want help, because you know this isn't the life that you want. This isn't what you dreamed of. This isn't the dream marriage. And so you find yourself sneaking around to see a therapist. Like you can't even tell them that you're going to see a therapist because you've probably told them before. They got very angry. They got upset with you. And part of this is based on the control factor. They don't want you talking about them to other people. And so they can't have you getting help, because if you get help and you talk to someone, you're going to tell them about the lifestyle and the situation you're currently living in. And that looks bad on them. So besides sneaking around, what happens over a period of time is that you begin to feel isolated from those who you love because you are not allowed to see them. Family, friends, some of even your kids from other marriages you can't see because your spouse doesn't want you spending time with them. Why? Because they found a fault. A lot of it's based on the fact that they feel abandoned when you're not spending 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with them. But also it's the fact of control. They want to control everybody you talk to and anybody you spend time with because they want to make sure what you're talking about. But better yet, they want to know where you are the whole time. And so you begin to feel like a prisoner in your own life. This isn't any type of life to live. Last but not least, you've lost contact with old school good friends because you've had to make up excuses one after another for reasons why you can't spend time with them. Is that hitting home? When you have to begin to make excuses, lies, to tell people that aren't true, especially when you actually want to hang out with them, but you're really not allowed to because you know your spouse is going to blow up, your spouse is going to lose it, start an argument, find fault, and you just don't want to deal with the pain and agony. Like you want to go to the concert with your best friends from high school, and it's like the favorite band in the world, but all you can think of is if you go, when you get back home, you're going to be yelled at and screamed at for hours. Is that concert worth it? And many of you watching this video right now have gone through this all the time, that you actually have to qualify and quantify. Is this experience going to be worth the pain and suffering that I'm going to endure, or the silent treatment that I'm going to endure for maybe days or even weeks at a time? So I ask you this question. Are you tired of living this way? Are you tired of it? Are you ready for a different lifestyle? Are you ready to do something different? Are you ready to take back control of your life and live the life that you've always wanted? Many of you out there say, yes, Ashley, I'm tired of living this lifestyle. I'm so tired of it. I want to live a life worth living. I want to be happy. I want to have gratitude. I want to smile. I want to just feel alive again. And I get you. But I know there's two things that are holding you up. The first thing is you're scared of what'll happen when you ask for the divorce. Okay, that's a big deal. The other thing is you fear what's going to happen about your children that have come from the marriage. Because of those two fears, you don't know what to do. Because of those two fears, you are not making the rational choices that you need to. You're putting it off. You're putting it on the back burner because you're sitting there saying, you know what? Maybe it'll get better. Maybe things will change. Maybe he or she will wake up tomorrow and everything's going to be okay and we can live happily ever after. But how many years have you been telling yourself this specific lie? And unfortunately for many of you, I know it's been a long time. You've been walking on eggshells for an extremely long time. You've been praying that one day he or she will wake up and change, and it hasn't happened. And so now we got to think about what we need to do to make the life that we need to live. We only have one life to live, and we need to make it the absolute best that we can. I understand your hesitation more than probably many people out there on the planet. Okay, I get it. I know that you're scared about the divorce, fearful of what will happen, fearful from the blowback of dealing with who gets the kids and everything in between. But I'm going to help you figure out how to deal with the situation. I'm going to give you some ideas right now, and better yet, a reality check of things that you need to know, things to think about, and how to bring about the life that you'd like to live. The first thing I'd like to address in this reality check is that if you don't do anything about it, your life's going to stay the same. It's not going to get any better. It's not going to magically change into something different. You've tried so many things. You've given 100%. You've done everything that one person can do. And now you've got to basically step up to the plate and make the changes that you need to. The second thing that I want to talk about in this reality check is that you owe it to yourself to live a life worth living. Okay? The reason why we're here on this planet is to learn, to love, to educate ourselves, to live that life, to suck the marrow of life, to be a part of it, to be grateful, to be happy. Not to have to always worry and be in arguments and not being able to speak up for ourselves because we're scared that it might start this big blowback, this big argument, or even yet we might have the silent treatment for 2 weeks from our spouse when they're supposed to love us and care about us. And we're doing everything we can, but we feel like we're getting nothing in return. And that is so debilitating and so horrible when you're trying to give all this love and all you feel is hatred and anger towards you. It makes you feel not only isolated, but it makes you feel sad, and it makes you feel like there's something wrong with you. You know, the third thing in this reality check is that you don't have to pay a lifetime for a choice that you made, okay? I believe in repenting, and I believe in the fact that, yes, sometimes we make mistakes, okay? Sometimes we didn't see the red flags. Sometimes we did and we decided to overlook them. But should we pay an entire lifetime for one choice? I don't think so. And I think that when we realize that, we realize we have the ability to change this. And it's not going against every one of our values and morals. We're realizing that our life matters more than just the idea of marriage. And I'm not saying that everybody should go out and get a divorce, for God's sakes. I'm just saying when you're going through this pain and agony, this isn't the way that marriage was designed to be, okay? That's not what you had in mind when you got married. When you said your vows and you believed in being with somebody forever, you didn't think this was going to be it. You thought it was going to be loving and supportive and giving and taking and being there. You didn't think it was going to be like this. So why do you have to live with this for the rest of your life? The next thing that I find highly important is that you need to be sure that you are a part of your children's life to make sure that they are not abandoned and not abused. Okay, this is one of the biggest caveats that you got to remember. When you ask for the divorce, you're going to probably go through some pain and suffering, but I think it's probably worth it because you've gone through enough pain and suffering over here and you're making a change to actually live your life. The children do matter. And when you're seeing problems and you're seeing issues, you need to jump in and be there for your kids, because I think that's one of the biggest reasons why most people don't leave a marriage is they don't want to hurt the kids. But honestly, kids get it, okay? They know when their parents are having issues. They know when it's a loveless marriage. And it affects them even more because they see their parents not being honest, okay? But being there for them is so critical because you need to make sure that they are raised properly and that you're in their life. Nothing happens overnight. So as you are planning your freedom, begin to embark on self-love and self-knowledge. Begin to find those things about yourself that you've kind of put under the rug. You've just gotten rid of because you've been too busy trying to conform, not start an argument, be everything for your spouse. You've been so stressed out about doing all that you don't even know what you love, what you care about. Begin to embark on those things now, reading and writing, getting into nature. Maybe it's photography. Maybe it's just spending some time doing some prayer or meditation and working to increase that self-esteem and to start believing in yourself again. Remember, if someone is a full narcissist or suffering from borderline personality disorder and they're against treatment and they're against getting therapy, you can't change them. There's nothing you can do to change them. You can only change yourself. It's delusional to think that you can make them a different person. They have to be willing. They have to be wanting to have treatment, wanting to have therapy, and they have to also realize that they've been part of the problem and not the solution. But bigger than that, they have to take responsibility for their actions. And I've been in your situation where I've wanted somebody to change, and I thought that if I just loved them more, if I was just there more, if I just cut more people out of my life, it'll all work out. This relationship will be awesome, and they'll see how much I love them, and they'll change, and they'll transform into this amazing being. It didn't happen. You know what it did do? It crushed me. It made me isolated. It made me sad. It made me depressed, and then you know what else? It lowered my self-esteem because I began to rate myself based on the fact that, it doesn't seem like I can do enough. I must not be good enough. And so if you're in a relationship with somebody just like this, that's not willing to get treatment, that's not willing to get help, you cannot get help for them. Okay? And this is another sign that it's time for you to embark on a life that you create on your own, that you're not at the mercy of somebody else holding you down, putting you in concrete shoes for the rest of your life. And it's not until later on at the end on your deathbed that you realize how much regret that you have that you didn't get to live the life that you wanted to live. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to yourself to have a good life, to have a happy life, to have a grateful life, to have a life worth living. I want this life for you, and I believe that you want it for you too. Sometimes we have to make changes that at the beginning hurt. They hurt. They're painful because we never saw them coming. We got married because we believed in the sanctity of marriage. We believed that this would work forever. And sometimes it doesn't. But it's up to you now to take the reality check, to look at all the good that you've done, everything that you've worked to create, and realize that you're a good person, you're valuable, but yourself and who you are is needed elsewhere. Okay? If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. Tell your friends and family about it. Especially tell other folks who are dealing with the same situation. Let them know there is a way out. And they can get out of the situation and still safeguard the children as long as they're willing to put in that extra time and effort and make sure that they're there for them. Divorce isn't easy. Separating is not easy. But sometimes we have to do things that aren't easy to do what's right for us in the long run. You owe it to yourself to ultimately live your true life.